Hi everyone, welcome to UTV Gooner and our show, The Shooting Lone Star with Ram from the Austin Gooners. Hey bro, how are you?
Oh man, I'm good. Just letting the dust settle from the past from this season and just kind of enjoying a little bit of time not watching football. Although Austin FC is kind of like in the middle of their season, so like we got games once a week for them. But it is kind of like I don't miss I mean it's only been a week or so, right? Like with no real football going on. So I don't miss it. It's kind of like a good time to take a break, some sunshine when I'm normally watching football or just sleeping in a little bit. Although I did watch like the FA Cup yesterday, but um, yeah, man, just kind of like I said, letting the dust settle, reflecting as a fan, and then gonna start looking forward to the summer fun, man. Transfer news and preseason and all that good stuff. The world, there's a Gold Cup, so some international things going on this summer, so should be pretty good, man.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Got the NBA finals as well.
NBA Finals. Yeah, we'll see what
And
happens with that. I want like a I want like a seven games, so we'll see what happens, man. But Denver looks really good.
yeah, they do. But Miami, they've been amazing all season. Like the
Hmm.
playoffs part, they've just been beating all the teams they're not expected to beat. So can't write them off. Be interesting to see game tonight. Looking forward to that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, bro. So just to wrap up now on our season, gonna ask you before we go into some of the things to do with the season overall, like play of the season and team ratings. Just quickly your thoughts on the game against Wolves. It was a great way to finish the season, 5-0. Some great goals. Also, them 5 goals broke the record for us for amount of goals we've ever scored in the Premier League season. So that's a really great feat for this set of players as well. We've had a great season. I know we had a lot of criticism in recent times after the way the season ended, but overall, we've been saying this for the last few weeks on the shows. It's been a great season. When we look back to the start of the season, the goal was top four. We've done that comfortably. Ended up getting second. We pushed City close. In the end, it's only 5 points. I know they took their foot off the pedal in the last two games. And if it was still on, it's very likely they would have won them. So you could say the gap to them was 8 points. That's come down from 24 points last season. So we've really improved. Before we talk about the overall season stuff, just your thoughts on that Wolverhampton game.
Oh man, it was fun. It was a party there at the tavern with the rest of the Gooners here in Austin. And it looked like it was a really fun party there at the Emirates, man. It really helped that we scored the goal. We started scoring pretty much right off the bat. Within 15 minutes, we were already up 2-0. Two goals by Granit Xhaka, which at that point, everybody at the bar, every time he touched the ball, it didn't matter where he touched it, just you could hear the whole bar screaming, shoot, shoot, almost. And then I rewatched the game on the TV, the broadcast, and it sounded like a lot of the fans were doing the same thing there on the grounds. So yeah, it was just a big party, man, and everybody who, it felt like a homecoming game. I guess I don't know if you guys have that in school over there, but like the final game where you kind of honor everybody, like the players in the season they've had, whether it's been good or bad. It's basically like a celebration, and that's what it felt like on that last Sunday. Wolverhampton was just kind of there to to just be the other team and they didn't really stand out, do anything, make any threats. Rough game for them. Um, but yeah, I thought everybody, did well. I kind of like one thing I will kind of point out, that I kind of like was watching. Looked like we were playing a back three for a little bit. Now, if you look at the formation, it looks like a basic 4-3-3 where they had Thomas Partey play like a right back, but in the actual execution of it, it looked like we were playing a back three with four midfielders and then three up front. And Partey was sort of doing what Zinchenko was kind of doing. You know what I mean? And I think they tried this at Nottingham Forest. It didn't work. It looked a lot better um, against Wolves. Now, granted, Wolves were probably already on the beach. There's a lot of factors, but I think this is going to kind of be something that Arteta is going to try with a little bit more regularity moving forward into next season, trying to adapt, adjust. You always kind of, I mean, the best coaches are always going to have to change things up to keep up with, because it almost felt like what we were doing got figured out at some point, and that's why I think we kind of fell off a little bit. Same thing with the year before. So I really kind of liked it. I mean, Thomas looked a lot more comfortable, and I think over time, the more they try it out, it's going to look a lot better, man. That goal with Saka was probably my best, though. Like, come on, like the 1-2 between Odegaard and Trossard, and then Trossard kind of just ekes it over to Saka, and then there was nothing like spectacular about what Saka did, but everything he did was just, it just looked so crisp and clean, and I was like, oh man, like we're gonna get more of that, as over the coming years, man. And I'm so excited, and it was a strong way to finish the season, and I'm glad we finished that way because it wasn't looking good, over the past couple weeks. But yeah, man, we wrapped the season up with a nice bow. Wish we would have been competing for the title. But we did what we did, man, and it was good. It was good to see.
Yeah, bro, it was amazing to finish that high, 5 goals. We are talking about it before, like last season as well. We smashed up Everton, and we're looking to do something similar to go on a high. It was nice, brilliant home record as well for us. We just had the 2 defeats all season at home to Man City and Brighton. That's a really impressive record. As I said as well, them goals allowed us to break our most goals in a season record in the Premier League. There's been so many positives. You look at, as I say, the points that we managed to get together this season, from getting down in 8th not too long ago, 2 seasons in a row, we're down in 8th, up to 5th, now up to 2nd. The trajectory is just going upwards. It's hopefully going to continue for us, because the next thing to do is to finish first now.
Yeah.
So that's the next step. Let's hope we can continue our upward trajectory and get to that first step. So let's look at the season overall now then. I want to ask you, first of all, who's your player of the season?
You know, I'm gonna say, everybody. There's so many candidates, right? Like it's really hard to pick. And I've listened to a couple of podcasts wrapping up the season, and everybody, you can pick every single player. My thought, as I was reflecting and listening to everybody's arguments and discussions, you can easily pick somebody like Bukayo Saka or Martin Odegaard. But I think my player of the season, personally, I'm going to kind of go out on like a limb here, but for me, it was Ben White. And reason why, like, last season he played center back for us pretty much the whole year, and then we brought in William Saliba, and then that's also another player of the year candidate. You can just think about how much we missed him. Sometimes you can realize how important a player is when you don't have them. And but yeah, William Saliba comes in, essentially takes his spot at center back, and then we put him out at right back, and then he takes Tomiyasu's spot, and then he becomes sort of our right back. Him and Gabriel are, like, I think the two that didn't really miss any time. And I think just Ben White, yeah, I would pick Ben White just because, he's so consistent. And then the fact that it doesn't matter where we put him, he will he will play his ass off. I mean, there's this running joke that he doesn't care about football and this and this. And sure, maybe he doesn't watch football, maybe he has like more of a life outside of football than a lot of other people. But like, you don't get to the level that he's at by not caring. And I think you take in just everything about him and the way he plays the game, his approach, the way he looks out in the field, like he's effortlessly one of the best players we have on this team. And he may not be like the captain type or the one that gets all the headlines or scores all the goals, but that guy week in, week out is just so consistent. And I mean, you could say that about a lot of our players this year, but I think over the past couple years, he's really built up to become one of the really more important players on our squad, and I think this year he did everything he was asked to do, whether it was play center back, move to right back, just learned a brand new position, and not only learned, but pretty much excelled at it, man. I mean, he had a couple of rough games, and nobody was perfect all year, but he was one of, I think, our most consistent performers. So my player of the season is going to have to be Ben White, easily. Who would you have? I know you've been asking a lot of people that, but who would you pick?
Yeah, bro, you're the first person to say Ben White. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's about opinions. In your opinion, Ben
yeah,
White is your player of the season, and most of the people I spoke to have said Odegaard.
yeah,
So, like when I was speaking to people after the Wolverhampton game, most have said either Odegaard or Saka.
yeah.
So we know both of them had great seasons. Saliba as well. I've got to give him a shout out. Unfortunately, you said that he got injured, but you could see how much we missed him when he wasn't in the team. So them three for me, they've been the top three, right?
Hmm.
I mean, to choose between the three of them is a hard one. That
Yeah.
I'd say if you look at the stats as well, very hard. Both Odegaard and Saka had great seasons. Saliba as well. I think because of Saliba's injury, that he missed that last part of the season. So I'm going to narrow it down to Odegaard and Saka now. I mean, as you said, you gave your example there, Ben White, of just like how you felt the difference he made to the team and how he adapted to a new position and the way he owned that position as well. Like, he made it his. Like, even when
Hmm.
Tommy Yasu was back to fitness, I know it wasn't for much time. He got injured again, but when he was keeping him out of the team. And last season, Tommy Yasu was the main guy as right back. So yeah, big shout out to Ben White for that. But for me, like, you put me on the spot on this one, bro.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, like
That's
I
fine
said,
because nobody's
so
asking me
many
a question.
players.
I've been asking everyone else, but I haven't like for me personally, I'm gonna give it to Saka. Gonna give it to
Man,
Saka.
easy choice. Yeah, and
I
nothing
think
wrong
he's
with that answer either.
uh, I think he's on the guy, like I said, he's had a great season as well. But Saka, look, I'm a little bit biased because he is my favorite player.
Hmm.
So, like, that does influence me too. So because it's so close between the two, I'm gonna give it to my favorite player. But now both of them had great seasons. The amount of goals and assists that Saka's got, he's really
Yeah.
stepped up. He's took it to another level this season. And I'm looking forward to seeing his progress. Again, I believe next season, again, he's going to take it to an even higher level. And he's definitely one of the best young players in the world. And I'm looking forward to seeing him go on to be one of the best players in the world, regardless, young or not. He's coming to that level. When you look at the awards as well for the actual Premier League, how they gave it to Haaland for both. Did you see that?
Yeah, yeah. He got young player and like
Yeah,
regular player of the year.
me,
Like,
I don't see the need to do that. Like, why didn't they give the young one to someone else? You know?
yeah,
So for me, Saka in the whole Premier League as well should have been given the young player of the season. And yeah, Haaland, okay, I know his stats, his record, everything, he gets player of the season, but I don't think you need to give the same person both awards.
yeah, yeah. I see that. They kind of but I mean, I guess it's fine. Whatever. More reason for Saka to go back to work and just kind of get motivated to really bring it next season, man. I mean, not that he needs much motivation. I mean, you can tell he's a very focused, motivated player. But I'm pretty sure he was kind of hoping to get something like that because he was snubbed the year before too. I think for I don't even know who, but yeah, he definitely deserved some kind of recognition because yeah, man, he's a really good player. I mean, he's our star boy, man. I love him. I got the new shirt and I got his name on the back of the shirt, so I'm waiting for it in the mail. It's gonna come like by Tuesday or something, but I've been waiting for it, bro. I love Saka, man, and that's our star boy. So yeah,
Oh,
we'll see what his career brings.
yeah, bro, he's just gonna get better and better. He's still so young. And you can see, as you said, with his character where he just wants to get better and better. He's continuing to learn. And we've just seen the progress of him these last few years. He has just got better and better, along with the team. So many, we've got to shout out Martinelli as well. That's another one, right? Because he had an
Martinelli.
outstanding season as well. I know he got injured last few games again, so like can't forget the season he's had as well. A lot of goals, assists, constant threat, his work rate as well. With him and Saka down each wing, we've got two of the best wingers in the world.
Yeah. I agree. It's going to be very exciting to watch them continue to grow, continue to adapt their games, and just continue to dominate, man. It's exciting to see them what they're
Yeah,
going to become.
yeah, bro. Exciting times for us. Future is bright, as I was saying, when we're going through a difficult few weeks at the end of the season. We do know our future is bright. So, next question, bro, on the season overall, what rating would you give our team?
Um, yeah, that's a hard one, man, because I kind of want to like you kind of like try and decide between balancing against like the history of the squad and of the club, and then me as personally as a fan. I always like to bring up and talk to a lot of people, whether it's you or like people in like at the bar or whatever. Like I'm very relatively new to this, and so this was my personal, like, as a fan, my first time actually watching um my team competing for a title, right? Being in a title chase. This is something brand new for me as an Arsenal supporter, and so I could easily just call this a 10 season just because I had so much fun watching. Uh, and but there was also some disappointment as well. But like I said, letting letting the dust settle over the past week or so has really kind of given me an opportunity to think about just how much of this, like, what happened throughout this whole season. First of all, it's really long, and considering the World Cup break and all that kind of stuff, so much has gone on, and um, I'm gonna have to give it like an 8.5 out of 10, because yes, it was disappointing how we finished, and that's still something I think this team has to work on, is finishing. Like, this is 2 years in a row where we've kind of petered out at the final few games of the season, and who knows what it is, if it's fatigue, if it's mental, but overall, like, we overcame so many of our previous ghosts, if you will, like winning on grounds that we were losing beforehand, like like at Crystal Palace, at the Tottenham match, beating Liverpool at home. Just so many memorable moments. Newcastle away was an incredible bounce back. Um, and then there's also, yes, some disappointments, but 8.5. I think, just considering e- everything that went on. Um, Gabi Jesus missing, what, 3 months because of the World Cup, and us maintaining our form, right, even without him, and everybody kind of stepping in and doing their thing. And but yeah, it was disappointing. I think, if we won the title, it would have been a 10 out of 10. I've had This is the most fun I've had as a supporter. But I'm gonna go 8.5, because I think we've made a ton of progress, and we still have a lot to go. So, like, rating it, it's like we had a B. If we were in school, this would be like a B score. So yeah, man, 8.5. We could do so much better, but we've come a long way.
Yeah, for sure, bro. As you say, 10 would be us winning the league. So I think
Yeah,
8 or 9, around about that. That's a fair rating. As you said, 8.5. We've met the target that was assigned at the start of the season. We've surpassed that target to actually challenge for the title. And we didn't just challenge for it, we really were, as everyone's been reminding us about that stat, we were top for so long this season. So that means that they were saying, oh, you bottled it because you're, I think, 80. So it was quite a big amount. I think it was 90. So 80 or 90% of the season, we were top of the league. And
yeah, yeah.
I was saying, oh, you bottled it, but then you've got to look at it the other way. That means we played so well that for that massive amount of the season, we were top and we were outplaying Man City and every other team in the Premier League to be at top for so long.
Yep, yep.
So outstanding season and really proud of the boys. Now, next question for the season overall. What rating would you give Mikel Arteta?
Oh, Mikel Arteta, man. And you know what? I like, because I was trying to think about this, because I figured you would ask, and like, um, obviously, a lot of the progress we've made over the past couple of years has been because of him. Um, I'll just maybe start with the negatives just to get it out of the way. But I think we do need to do a little bit better in the cup competitions in Europe, right? I think if there's one big sort of thorn in Arteta's side, it's probably how we've performed in Europa League and what have you. And now we're going to be in Champions League. So, and he said it himself, like, we don't just want to be in Champions League. I think the overall feeling around the club is we don't want to be a one and done team in Champions League. Like, we want to start raising the levels. And so I think he himself knows that he's got to do better in Europe, right? Like, we have to show better performances away from the Premier League, right? FA Cup. I know he's won one already, but ever since winning that one, we haven't really done well or gotten deep in the FA Cup. Carabao Cup, I don't really care so much about, to be quite honest. But you do want to see, you know, somebody said something the other day, like I think it might have been during a game or like maybe something I read, but the best player or the best teams, the teams that win trophies, are the teams that take every competition seriously. And I'm not saying that Arteta doesn't take it seriously. I just think he needs to perform better, whether it's putting out better starting 11s and getting more out of the players that are not, the first 11. And then just, yeah, and then just getting some better results. But I think that's just my main negative. And then the positives obviously is, or actually one more negative. I do think it takes Arteta a little bit. I think he's a little bit stubborn in maybe changing tactics or changing a starting 11. Like, maybe we want to see him as a fan base trust the players on the bench a little bit more and give them opportunities to get more minutes and and go out there and make the mistakes that they have to make, but then continue to grow. And there's a lot of frustration in not seeing Emil Smith Rowe out there a little bit more. Although reports are saying like we're not giving up on him. Same thing with Reece Nelson. Fabio Vieira is another one where you're like, hey man, we got to see him. Like we want to see him get better. And the only way some of these players can get better and improve is to get more minutes. And that's another negative thing that I see with Arteta is that he doesn't trust. Like once he trusts you, it's all good, right? But once he loses a little bit of trust in you, like you don't get a shot. And again, maybe that's his style. But I would like to see him a little bit more flexible when things aren't working out. We are a great team when everything goes our way, when the plan goes. But it's those matches where it just becomes a dogfight where we may not look so good and we're not able to adjust as much as other teams are able to. And so yeah, those are like the big things. But you go on to the positives and you can see the improvement year by year. A lot of individual players have really improved, Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, Ben White. I mean, a big part of Ben White being so flexible is he's got to have the proper guidance to know exactly. Granted, Xhaka, like my God, like that guy was on his way out, and he's a beloved player now. It's so sad to see him go, but he kind of went out like a Hollywood style. So, um, yeah. All that being said, I'm gonna have to give um, Arteta a slightly lower rating than the team. Even it's kind of weird, but I'll give him like an 8, like a straight up 8 out of 10. I think partially because I feel like the reason I'd give our team a higher performance rating than Arteta is I think our team almost overachieved a little bit. Again, our target was top 4, and I think our team took it a little bit further than what we were ready to do. Um, so yeah, I think Arteta does, and Arteta's a new manager. Like again, this is his first job, so he's learning on the fly as well. Um, and I just want to continue I want to see him continue to like become a better manager, learn from his mistakes. And, the last 2 games against Nottingham Forest and Wolves kind of showed that he was starting to kind of like, mess around with the lineup a little bit, try a different formation. And it didn't work against Forest, but it worked against Wolves. And then you love seeing that. And then you're also thinking like, well, why didn't he try that against you know, and hindsight is 2020, right? But why didn't he try that like 2 games before? You see Jacob Kiwior come in and do a job against, like, I forget who it was, Chelsea or something like that. Well, sure, we're not going to see him come in against City. Like, that would have been disastrous, I think, and not good for the player's psyche. But you kind of would have liked to see him maybe step in against like a team like West Ham, and how different would that have result have shown, or against Southampton, something like that. But instead, he stuck with Rob Holding for a while. So, and maybe he was right in his judgment. Like, Kiwior wasn't exactly ready, but you never know until you put him in. So yeah, I think the biggest uh thing that I want to see Arteta improve in is like flexibility as a manager, like trying different things when things aren't going well. Um and yeah, so I'll give him an 8 out of 10.
Okay, bro. Yeah, with Arteta, we know he is a young manager still. This is his first job, so there's going to be them mistakes. It's his first time in a title race, is what you're telling me earlier. You were mentioning earlier that this is the first season for you as a fan to see us in the title race. It's Arteta's first experience of being a manager in the title race. I know he's had the experiences with Man City before under Pep there, them in title races, winning the title. Also, his time as a player for us, who have them experiences of us trying to push to win a league title, but being the main man and one guy in charge, the manager in the title race, that was his first time with that. And I feel he didn't have the equipment as well. We talk about like decisions he's made, but and having more trust in the bench, definitely. But at the same time, we know our squad's not at the level of the City. So I
Hmm.
feel when we give him the tools, the equipment, better tools, for definitely he is the manager that can guide us to that Premier League title again. He showed this season how close he got us. As you said, the team, along with him, we overachieved from what was expected. But he's showing he's got the ability as a manager. I just, like I said, I love his passion. Saying to you last year when we saw his All or Nothing documentary on Amazon, just his passion,
Hmm.
style, I like that a lot, and I'm very confident he can bring us that success. And hopefully, the board, the owners will continue to back him. They have backed him so well in recent seasons in the transfer window. So let's hope that will continue this summer. He gets more of the tools he needs to take us to that Premier League title. And as you said, very important to do well in Europe, because that is one thing that we have struggled. I remember the season before COVID as well, when we got knocked out in the Europa League. And
Hmm.
that was really disappointing season there, not just in the league, but in the Europa League. As you said, in the cups, we've not done so well since his first season where he won the FA Cup. So yeah, I want to see them improvements. And like I say, with having a bigger squad, more options, I'm sure he'll be able to get that side of things better as well. And yeah, great season from him, great season from the team. And looking ahead now, big transfer window coming up. Going to do a show with you soon to discuss that in more detail. In terms of looking at the team now, though, how many players do you think we need to get in?
I think it's going to be a lot like last transfer window, where I think we need to get somewhere in the number of like 4 to 5 players to like realistically feel like we're taking it up a notch and taking it to the next level. Um, I think maybe at the last end of last season, we were saying we have our starting 11, and we need to get to 11 plus 3 or 4 players to just really be confident in what we're doing. And I think maybe now we're there. We're at 11 plus 3 players. We're at 14 players that Arteta really trusts. I think we got to you know, raise the level a little bit, especially in the midfield. I think especially in the defense. I think our front three is good. Maybe we get somebody for Saka. We can go into the nitty gritty later, but like 4 to 5 players, I think that will build upon that base of players that everybody loves. And we got the youth foundation going. We brought in a couple of players like with some experience. So I think continuing to kind of have that mix would be good. So 4 would be ideal, 5 would be a dream. So I'll just say, yeah, between 4 or 5, I think I would be really happy if we could do that, you know. And for me, it doesn't necessarily need to be 4 or 5 like world class players, man. If we can get some squad players or players who are going to be good on the future, like Marquinhos last year, who was more of like a prospect, I was happy with that. Like I was glad that we're continuing to like build for the ultimate future. So one of those players was like a player that we're going to bring in, you know, just to kind of get better in the next 2 or 3 years. Because we also have some players that are going to come back from loan as well, and kind of hoping we can insert them into the starting lineup as well. So yeah, 4 or 5 players plus everybody we're going to bring out, minus the people we're going to sell. I think that'll be a good number to target. Hopefully, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, so you mentioned some of the players coming back. Balogun's a big one.
Hmm.
All the reports of him and how well he's done out while he's in France.
Yep.
Scored a lot of goals out there. I've got somebody that I have on the channel quite often, Stephen, who watches a lot of our younger teams play and has seen Balogun come through the youth, and he is adamant. He says to me, "This is the guy. He is the guy that is the next great striker for us. He believes he's going to be able to break all records if we put the faith in him." He says he's brilliant.
Mm.
He's got all assets to his game. He can hold the ball up, and he's adamant that this is the guy we should stick our faith in to be our main striker. What's your thoughts on Balogun?
Yeah, this is gonna be a very interesting one, man. I hope we can somehow convince him to stick with the team and maybe give it a go for a season and see what's going on. Um, but at the same time, if his value is really, really high right now and we can get a really good amount for him, uh, I'm kind of in the middle. I wouldn't be disappointed either way. I would love for him to stay so we can have an American on Arsenal. And that can just kind of again continue to explode how popular this team is being and things like that. But if we decide to sell him and make a bunch of money and reinvest it into the squad, I feel like that's a win-win regardless. So I feel like we're in a good position. This is a problem, obviously, but it's a good problem to have versus like imagine how it was 2 years ago when it's like, geez, who do we have on our team? Like we can't sell anybody. Now it's just like we have way too many strikers. Like we can afford selling one because we might need to get a new one anyway. It's gonna be interesting, man. And Edu and all them have a really tough, difficult job ahead. So it's gonna make for an exciting summer. So we'll see what happens. I'm kind of on the fence right now. He can go, he can stay, and I think we're gonna be okay either way.
Okay, and what's your thoughts on the Granit Xhaka situation? So there's a lot of rumors saying that he is going to leave. It does seem that way. Nothing's
Hmm.
been confirmed by the club or him as well. I saw a video of him being asked that when he was leaving after the Wolverhampton game. If that was
Yeah.
his last game, then brilliant way for him to go out with 2 goals. It's been a fantastic season for him. Scored a lot of goals. Really played well in this advanced role. What's your thoughts on him and his situation?
Um, well, I think his position is a position we're going to look to upgrade. Another rumor I read was like Emil Smith Rowe is going to look like Arteta's. And part of the reason Emil Smith Rowe didn't get a lot of playing time was, he's trying to move him into a new position and to that new role. So we're going to have, he's going to see himself fall down in the pecking order, and that's not what he's used to. He's used to being starting every single game, no questions about it. So I think it's going to be better for both to kind of end the season as it is. I kind of wish he stayed to win the title. I kind of wish he stayed to like be in the Champions League with us. Um, but I think it is what it is. I think he reads the writing on the wall and he knows that he's going to be less important, and that's just not his style. So I think it's best for everybody involved if he just moves on. And it's going to be one of those like, hey man, you did great. Good luck in the future. It's no hard feelings at all. He probably knew this time was coming. So, that kind of it is what it is. So I'm in the nicest way possible. I think it's time for him to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking at the age situation, he hasn't got that long left at the top level. He's getting on in age now, and it seems like he's for personal reasons with his family, he does really want to go back to Germany. So, if that's the case, as you said, for us, we've been linked with a lot of players for that position, but also we have got someone like Smith Rowe that can fit in there. I'm interested to see what happens with Smith Rowe because we just didn't see much of him at all, even when he came back from his injury. So that's another one that's gonna be interesting to see what happens with him through the summer and
For
what
real.
does with him. And he's one of our great young players coming through as well before this injury. So hopefully he can get back on track and play a much bigger part in our team next season. And we talk about obviously the players we want to get in and players coming back from loan, players leaving, like Xhaka looks like he's leaving. There's a player whose contract as well we want to get renewed and get it done soon. I've been reading some things, can't believe everything you read, but reading some things saying we're quite far apart with the negotiations with William Saliba and his agent in terms of the salary we're offering. He's a vital player. We talked about him when we were talking about the player of the season. He's a vital player for us. We really hope we can get him secured to a long-term contract.
Yeah, and I think the reason why we're so far apart, in terms of like the negotiating on the salary or whatever. First of all, I think it's normal. Like I think it's okay. I'm still like confident about it. Um, but I think out of all the players we were looking to either extend or resign or whatever you want to call it, like I think Saliba is sort of in the best position to do so, if that makes sense. Like it's in a weird way, like him being injured almost helped his positioning because if especially if I were his agent, like I'd be like, look how the team went without him. So that just shows how important he is. Um, I think the team did right by him by keeping him out and not letting him re-injure it. It seems like back injuries are kind of like an iffy thing, but it looks like with time is all he really needed. So I think in the long term, I think that helps us as well. Um, I think the main thing right now amongst Arsenal fans and maybe the coverage was just the start of the relationship was so rocky that we're all kind of like nervous that something bad is going to happen. But I think ultimately, I think he will resign. I think the latest thing I read is there's not really any worry on either side that it's not going to get done. Right? The player wants to stay here. The team wants him. Obviously, I think it's just a matter of this is how negotiations go. And go back to my earlier point, like I think he has the best. He's in the best uh position, if you will, like to negotiate. So I think that's just what's happening, and we're watching that play out. I think ultimately he's gonna stay with us. So we just have to wait and see. But hopefully it gets done, and it's not done until it's done, and anything could happen. So something's gonna have to happen soon because he's on the last year of his deal, and we can't let him go on a free. So if he's not going to end up staying, if that's the case, we might have to look into, moving him on and making something from him. So, lot like I said, a little bit earlier, like this summer is going to be very, very interesting for. Hopefully, we get good surprises over bad surprises, but there's going to be a lot of things happening. But this is what we want, right? We want moves towards, you know, competing for trophies and titles and all that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure, bro. We want to see us retaining our best players and bringing in as many great players as we can as well. So massive, massive transfer window coming up. So before we go, bro, can't ask you for any predictions of the Premier League now. The season is done. It's always that feeling where the season's done and it's like, oh, it's still like nice long 2 month break now till the next Premier League action. But yeah, the way time flies, that won't be long. We sitting there and be like, yeah, first game of the season's about to come.
Yeah.
But yeah, before the season's actually fully finished, there is the Champions League final. So that is coming up next weekend. Big game for Manchester City. They're just beating Man United in the FA Cup. So they now have the chance to go and do the treble. That's a massive, massive thing. Also for them as well, they've never won the Champions League, and we know how much they've wanted to win that Champions League. They've come close getting to the final before. Pep as well, he's not won it for a long time now since his Barcelona days. Didn't win it while he was at Bayern Munich. Didn't win it when he's been at Man City so far. So it's a massive occasion for them, and they got Inter Milan in their way. I've not seen much of Italian football. I've seen Inter Milan a little bit in the Champions League. They've looked good. I remember watching them play Barcelona, and they were
Hmm.
looking pretty good in them games that I saw. So, uh, as much as everyone's saying it's going to be easy win for Man City, and it's like a foregone conclusion, we know that football's not like that. Inter Milan are a good team. On their day, they are capable of beating Man City. So for us, we just want to see a great final. Hopefully, we'll see a really good, high-scoring match. What's your thoughts on that one?
Uh, I don't know if we'll see a high scoring match if we want to see Inter Milan win. I think that I watch a little bit of Serie A just because it's on like after Premier League games are done. For some reason, I don't know how it is in Italy, but like the games are on a little bit later in the day, so like I'm able to catch some. Um, so I watched a little bit of Inter Milan because I do like Romelu Lukaku and Martinez. Lautaro Martinez is on that team as well, so they've got some players that I like to see. So I'll tune in every now and then, Milan as well, good team. So yeah, I mean the thing about I guess Italian soccer is from what I watch and how I see it is they're a little bit more defensive, like very strong defensive teams, and they do a lot of like counter attacks and things like that. So if Inter Milan is to have a chance, they're gonna probably have to not necessarily park the bus, but just have a really, really strong defensive performance. And then Lukaku's just gonna have to have one of the games of his life. Um, we'll see what happens. He's kind of, back in and out of the lineup and things like that. So hopefully he can have a good performance. And I think there's gonna be a lot of pressure on City. I think they're gonna feel it. You kind of saw it for a little bit in the FA Cup against United. Sure, they scored within the first 16 seconds, which was hilarious, by the way. But United were able to kind of fight back a little bit. They got a favorable penalty, but ultimately it was still 1-1 at the half. Um, I don't think they necessarily dominated United in that performance. Um, I don't know how much that had to do with just United going all out or City feeling the pressure, but I mean, yeah, they're certainly going to feel the pressure. It's either going to be a blowout in favor of City or it's going to be a really, really close game. And I think if it's a close, tight match, if it's like 0-0 or 1-1 toward, in the 80th minute, I think Inter has a chance as much as anybody, right? I mean, it's so obvious to say, right? But I think the longer that Inter can keep it tight and not fall behind 2-0 or something, or not give up an early goal and be playing from behind the whole time, um, I think they got a chance. And I'm going to be rooting for them. I'm picking Inter on this one just because I don't want to see City win the treble. Um, yeah, I didn't want to. I had a hard time watching the FA Cup and rooting for anybody really. So like I just watched it because I'm going to watch it, and the result was whatever. But yeah, for the Champions League final, I will be tuning in and hate watching City, but I'm really gonna want to see Inter Milan do the thing, man. They're gonna be a massive underdog. Um, so we'll see what happens, man. I hope they they do everybody a solid and beat City and prevent them from making the kind of history that they want to make. Because that's the one they want. So I mean, if they can't get that one, then there's still going to be questions over them and Pep and all that good stuff. Um, so yeah, I think Inter. I'll pick Inter 2-1. Who knows?
Okay, well, that would be great for, for Inter Milan. Not so great for Man City and Pep, as you say. It'd just be funny after all this waiting and them looking so certain to go on and finally win the Champions League, or Inter Milan were to beat them. That would be really funny. But I just think City are going to be too good. I think they're super focused. I don't think they'll win it comfortably. it's really hard to win finals comfortably. So I see it being tight, maybe something like 3-1 City. Like, I still think they'll win it by a couple of goals, but not it won't. I don't think it'll be a blowout like a 3-4 nil or anything like that. But just see them having
Yeah.
two in the land, and
Mhm.
wow, what a team! They go do the treble, and you can see compare it to the treble that Man United did. The treble Man United did was very lucky in many ways. They just about won the league title. They were lucky to win the FA Cup. They needed that wonder goal by Ryan Giggs when they were playing us in the semi final and they were down to 10 men. Right, on another occasion, he isn't scoring a goal like that. You know, we should be beating them. They're down to 10 men. Could end up going to penalties. Anything could have happened in that one. And then in the Champions League final itself, they were super lucky. I know the result's not done till it's done, but they were losing that game to Bayern Munich right up until the year. And Bayern Munich were a better team. And then they got
Mhm.
their two late goals in injury time to end up winning it 2-1. So I can't say lucky, but so you can't never can you say it's a lucky treble because you know they've had to work hard through the whole season to get him in positions. But they did have a lot of things go their way, and luck was on their side on many occasions in that season. But when you look at Man City here, they've been dominant in the Premier League. We've seen how great they are, winning 12 games in a row, how special they are to get that amount of points again. Their record's unbelievable, the goals they scored. And then you look at them in the FA Cup again. They've beaten many hard, difficult games they've had, including us in the FA Cup. They knocked us out of it, as well as many other good teams, beating their local rivals in the final and Champions League again. They've gone, played difficult games. They've beaten Real Madrid convincingly, Bayern Munich convincingly. So again, it's going to be a really deserved treble. And you've got to say, well done to them.
Yeah, yeah. If they do indeed knock it out, well done to them. You know, despite all the allegations surrounding them and all the the, the negativity and all that good stuff, they do have a lot of really good players, and a lot of those players are performing well and they're at their peak. And you also got to give credit to Pep. I mean, he is a good coach. He knows how to motivate players. I mean, we have a coach from his tree, if you will, and they're a style we're trying to ultimately emulate, because it's the most successful style this decade. So, you know, I hope they don't do it, to be honest. But if they do, hey man, you can't do anything else but tip your cap. Same thing about with the last 15 matches in the Premier League, right? Like, it wasn't like they got lucky on top of us doing bad for the end. It was, we could not keep up with them and they just never lost. And they didn't start dropping points until the title was already decided. So, they're the way they figured out a way to do it. On top of that, we've seen, like, with the likes of Chelsea, just because you have a lot of money does not equal like good performances on the field. And Chelsea is like sort of the opposite side of the spectrum right now. What we're seeing is, like, yeah, you can have all the money, but if you don't have the structure in place, you're not going to do shit with it. And City, for all the negativity surrounding them, they do seem to have a very solid infrastructure in terms of the actual football, to where, like, yeah, they're bringing in top players, but they're getting those top players to perform. And then not only that, but to accept their role on the team. I mean, you have $100 million player in Jack Grealish sitting on the bench for an entire season. John Stones, Phil Foden, all these guys are making so much money, and they would probably walk into any other team and be the first name on the starters sheet. And here they are coming off the bench for City. So, what they got a formula going. They know what they're doing. So props to them if they do it, but I'm certainly going to be rooting against them on Saturday very passionately.
Yeah, no, it is an amazing team, and for us to push them so hard in the title race,
Yeah.
that's a great achievement because that is one special team. Not just looking at this season, you look at the recent history, winning the Premier League 5 of the last 6 years. Outstanding team and one of the best we've ever seen. Full stop. Not just in this era, but any era. You could say is such a strong team. I've seen some people saying you compare it to the Barcelona team of like 2011, 12, that sort of time when Pep was there, and how good
Hmm.
they were. And this team is like, I wouldn't say at that level because that was a very special team, but it's pretty close to that level. So yeah, definitely one of the best teams ever. And yeah, respect to them. Just wanted to ask you to finish with, man, just your overall thoughts on the season. We've talked about us, but just overall, we've seen the teams that went down this year. It was Southampton, Leeds, and Leicester. We've seen you mentioning there as well. Chelsea struggles after spending all of that money. We've seen some teams that unexpectedly done really well this season, the likes of Brighton, Aston Villa. Uma Emery done a great job there. Newcastle as well, getting into the Champions League, done really well, good season for them. So just your overall thoughts to summarize the season overall in the Premier League.
Um, I think it was a very weird season, right? Not just because we finished second, although that was our goal, right, to finish top four. Um, it was a very like because of the World Cup, it was unprecedented what was happening, right? We had basically two halves of the season, and the teams that were going to do better in the long run were the teams that were going to be able to cope with all that, whether they had players on the squad who were playing in the World Cup or not. Like to be able to deal with a month and a couple weeks off and then turn it right back on again. Or if you were in the World Cup and put all the emotion into the World Cup, one of the biggest tournaments in many players' careers, and then to have to come back to that and refocus and continue on with your domestic season. Um, it was going to be challenging, and we saw like a lot of teams kind of not be able to cope with that. Um, and then also we saw a lot of like the middle. I feel like the middle, when you saw basically anywhere from 12th place on to 20th place really get into that scuffle of negation, like that just shows how. I mean, you can argue that it was that just shows how weak the Premier League is or how strong it is. I prefer to say like that just shows how strong it is. Like so many teams were fighting for their life. Um, we got a lot of teams like non-traditional. I mean, maybe more traditional teams like the Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, stayed up. Wolves, Crystal Palace, Fulham, Brentford, Brighton. I think Brighton is one of like the more exciting stories. They're kind of annoying. I don't like it when we play them. Like I'm scared. Like they scare me more than many other teams. But it is really cool to see like a team like that, smaller club, being run so well, and it just goes to show like how strong from top to bottom this league is. Um, and I think moving forward, we're gonna really see maybe the differences between the big teams and the middle of the club team or the middle of the park teams. Um, so yeah, I think we'll see a strong top four, top five, top six next season, and then it's gonna be those top six, and then everybody else. Um, but yeah, it was one of the longest seasons ever, obviously, right? I mean, we started this thing back in August, and it's now what ended in May of the next year. So it's incredible, man. Yeah, I think a lot of teams are going to reload, but our team is also going to reload as well. So it's City, and then it's the rest of us, right? And so we're going to try and do our damned best to stay on top of the rest of the pack. And we're right now number two, and we're gonna try and raise that level up to beat City. And I think, um, yeah, hopefully, moving forward, I don't know how I don't know how City will respond to however this season ends, but um, yeah, man, it's one of the most exciting leagues in the world, and anybody from Southampton. I mean, you just saw how they dealt with us and how we dealt with them. We got 2 points out of them. They lost 25 times. They drew 7 times, and two of those times were to us. Um, and yeah, and then I watched that Everton match, uh, and just how exciting watching a team in 18th place could be. And you know what I mean? Like they scored that goal to go up 1-0, and Goodison Park went nuts. And that just shows the passion from top to bottom. And even the teams that go down, man, I know you asked about the Premier League, but like if you look at the championship division, that's going to be so strong, man. There's so many good teams there, and they play 46 games. Like, yeah, man, there's just so much talent, so much good quality. Um, your country has the best the best soccer in the world, I believe, and yeah, man, can't wait for the next season to start. But this was a really, really long season, really weird. Um, and in ways, like I'm kind of glad it's over, and I'm kind of glad like a lot of the players are going to get a chance to rest, to move on, and then re-energize and get going to the next season. So hell of a year, man.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Premier League's very competitive. I say that, but we've just seen Man City win 5 of the last 6 Premier League titles. But in general, it is very competitive. From as you've seen, lower teams lower down on their day, they're capable of beating the bigger teams. We've seen it so many times, and behind us and Man City, there was a big gap, but it was still very competitive for a top 4 race right up until the end of the season. And with the Premier League relegation race as well, that went right into the end of the season. And just throughout the season, we've seen so many close games, good games, high scoring games, and a lot of drama, a bit of too much controversy with VAR and referee decisions. We want that to improve, especially for what we suffered a few times this season. We had some ridiculous things go against us, like
Yeah,
Brentford during the lines and all. They need to improve that, but yeah, for sure, Premier League, I would say, is the most exciting league in the world by far. The atmosphere as well at the stadiums as well, that makes a huge difference as well. All the games always sold out. And yeah, apart from Man City, maybe a little bit, they struggle to spin up their stadium quite often.
yeah,
I'm surprised they've got so many fans at Wembley. Like, they managed to get quite a lot up there.
yeah. There are probably a lot of United fans there too who are just rooting for the winning team. I don't believe I didn't believe they had that many fans. You saw it and it was packed. I don't believe they have that many United or City fans. But whatever, you know, I feel like if City wins, it just doesn't really register in a lot of people's like radars. Like, yeah, okay, whatever City does, it does it. Like, it's not exciting. But I think everybody else, it's good. I mean, hopefully we're not. I don't think we are going to be like a farmers league yet. Like, if you look at, I watched some Bundesliga as well, and this was one of the better seasons, even though Bayern ended up winning again. But for the most part, in recent years, it was Bayern and everybody else, and it just wasn't that close to begin with. Same thing with like Ligue 1 in France, like it's PSG and everybody else, not really that good. But I think with us, even though it is City and everybody else right now, like the level of competition from top to bottom is just so intense, man. And so I think even though we're starting to trend towards being that feared farmers league that they call leagues that are dominated by one team, but I think we're still not there yet because there's so many teams that are loading up, and I think we're gonna have to see a change happening soon. And I think Arsenal is gonna be, up there with the best, man. I mean, because we're trying to do it, and we're trying to do it. We're trying to do what City's done, but in a different way, in sort of like the Liverpool type of way of, just kind of grassroots type building of a team. So hopefully it works, man. And then on top of that, everybody else, we know United's going to reload. Newcastle's Newcastle's coming, and then maybe a team like Brighton just continues to surprise people. Tottenham, I'm not going to give them a shout, but they're always kind of there in the mix. They beat City all the time. Brentford did the double against Manchester City, man. It's insane, right? So it's just like, yeah, like Brentford is 7th in the table, but beat the champions twice, and yeah, and Southampton took 2 points off of us, and we shared the points, and so it's just ridiculous. Like, you can't take a week off, man. So it's still one of the best leagues, and I love watching it, man. And I can't wait. As much as I'm saying like I'm enjoying less football right now, I can't wait to see it start up again. I'm already looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure, bro. It's going to be exciting. As you just mentioned there, it's going to be a lot of teams improving, and that includes us. Our next step now is to get to that top position, number one position in the Premier League. Let's hope we can do that next season. It's going to be a massive summer, as we said. I look forward to discussing with you through the summer how the transfer window's going and looking ahead to next season in more detail. I want to thank you for all your time this season, bro. It's been a pleasure to have you on this channel every week doing this
Yes,
show with
sir.
you. It's we started it halfway through last season, and this was our first full season together, and it's been amazing, bro. I really appreciate having you on the channel, listening to your thoughts. I meet a lot of people here all the time from America. So many of our fans there always coming over from all over America. And I always tell them I do a show with a guy from Austin Gooners, and it's a great show. Tell them to check it out and tell them how big a following you guys have created in Austin. I was telling them about you were telling me about game against Man United, how many people you had at the bar there, the great following and support you guys have built there. It's amazing. Great job, and thank you again so much for coming on the channel.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. I'm looking to keep doing it and keep building and yeah, man, it's exciting and as the team goes better, like we as fans got to raise our level of support as well and come up with new ways to connect and do all that kind of stuff because this is the best time. We got to strike while the iron's hot. And as Bukayo Saka said, the time is on our side, and the time is now. So it's really going to be exciting to see what the future holds for us as fans and for the club, right? So yeah, let's just keep it up. And yeah, again, my pleasure being part of this as well, man. It gets me to do my research and learn about the game a little bit more so I can talk about it. And yeah, this has also helped me as a fan and as, whatever we are, like online folks or whatever, like it just helps me and it helps me with as I said, with like, running the Austin Gooners Instagram page. It all helps me just kind of like be a better fan and learn about the team and learn about the players and the names and history and doing all that. It's not a job, but I treat it like a job, and it's becoming more and more that over time, but a fun job. So yeah, like yeah, I appreciate you, man, and I look forward to the future with your channel, man. See how it goes.
Thanks, bro. Look forward to seeing you on the next show. We're gonna take a little break, but the transfer window is gonna open soon.
Yep.
And as I said, we'll go into a lot more detail about the players we've been linked with and talk about next season, all the things coming up for us. The big thing coming up for us next season as well. I want to end the show on a real positive because it's been a long while, bro. We've had to wait many years for this. We have Champions League football back. Are we looking forward to discussing with you next season? Champions League games, it's going to be massive.
Hell yeah, man. Cannot wait. Let's, yeah, that's going to be fun, man, because that's where it's at. That's where the big names show up and everybody knows about Champions League. So I'm looking forward to our participation in it. I finally get to see Arsenal in the Champions League. So let's fucking go.
Yes, bro. So that's all from us. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share.
Peace.